Hi. So in this part of the review of the Unity workshops we did in class, we're going to look at first person and third person characters. Okay, so here we are in Unity and we've got our first person controller. And I can move that around. I'm using arrow keys or the WASD keys. And I can see in my best friend, the inspector, that there are certain scripts that are on here. Well, this is an easy way to do it because this is a prefab and it has all this stuff already on it. It has a connection that already to this main camera. It's talking to the main camera with the script, with this mouse look script, and that's important for a first person perspective. And this is one of the things you're going to do in your project, is make a careful choice, a thoughtful choice about whether you want to make a first person or a third person perspective game, and then you can write about what meaning and what difference to the player experience that choice makes, and how maybe that then shapes other design choices that you make, and what kind of experience that gives for your player. So we have a mouse look script. We've got something on the character to make it into a character that we can control. We have a motor script that's going to do something to its motion, and yours probably starts off with all these things shut, but if we open it we see that we can change the speed. So this starts off as a default. I was messing around with this already. This starts off as a default of 15. Right? But we can change it to 6, or just for demonstration purposes, we could change it to 1. And now my character controller moves very slowly, which you might want in a game. Maybe this game takes place underwater. Maybe it takes place in molasses. Maybe it's very meditative and all the movement is really... We want to use something called mechanim. So, mechanim examples. And if you open this, you'll find out about these different example scenes. Here we are in our blank level Unity to add a third-person character controller. So first we're going to add our third-person character. We already went through how to do our first-person character, and we're going to use a prefab for this as well. We're going to look in Sample Assets. Oops. We're going to look in Characters, and then here's third-person characters, prefabs, and third person. Let's take this and game object and drag it either onto our scene, or we could drag it, let me show you, you can also just drag it into your hierarchy, and then it'll end up pretty much like, well, kind of in the middle. You still have to move them a little bit. Okay. So you would put your character where you wanted it, him or her or it, to start, and let's see what this does. So my main camera view is just this, right? It is not yet attached to the point of view of the player, the perspective of the player yet. Right. So I just have a static camera position right here. So I could, if I wanted to see where that is, I could raise it up a little bit. It's for a better view. And now I can watch, whoops, I can watch the guy, third person character. Well, let's see what's under here. That's going to move my camera back, of course, because I did that during play, but that's all right. We're not going to keep that. So we've got Ethan, And Ethan has a controller, but animator with that points to his avatar, but no controller because all the stuff that controls this mesh of Ethan's body, his glasses, his super cool glasses, his skeleton, all of that stuff is under Ethan. But all the things that are going to control him are here under the third person character game object. And then Ethan is a child of that parent object. Right? He's under that and anything, any behaviors or scripts or properties that are put on that parent game object work on the one that's underneath it, or the ones that are underneath it in other cases. So we've got a third-person character script, we've got a third-person user control script, we've got an animator, we don't need the avatar there because we've got the avatar and the other thing under Ethan, and we've got a capsule collider, rigid body, so that he can make collisions. He can cause collisions. That's useful. Okay, so these are our things that we need for him, and we don't want him, let's say. Maybe this is not the character that you want to use in your game. Nothing against Ethan. We don't really have a great light here. That's well, I guess that would be why. There we go. Let's turn the light. Whoops. Let's turn the lights on. Or maybe just do it by the numbers. There we go. So let's turn the lights on. That way, and we can see Ethan. Nothing against Ethan with his cool glasses, but we do not want to use him in our scene, in our game. Okay, so instead of using Ethan, what we're going to do is we're going to say goodbye to Ethan. We're going to delete him only from the hierarchy. We don't want to get rid of Ethan altogether. Instead of Ethan, we're going to use the character that I made from with character generator, High Kick Guy. And we want to put him under third person, inside third person control character, right? Inside third person character. So far superior. And because we've put him under here, already tagged with player, all kinds of things, we should be, oh, there we go. Let's see. He's idling. Look at him idle. Whoops. Keep doing that. Look at him idle. Go into my game view. He's running this way, he's running that way, and all the things. So that is great, but as we notice, we don't have a camera that follows him. So unless he actually comes into our view, we're kind of stuck. We can move the camera around, as we said, but that's not really enough. So we want to add a component. We want to add camera control, and we want smooth follow. So the target of our smooth follow camera is going to be none other than not High Kick Guy. We want to keep all that stuff on our third person character, which happens to be last because it's in alphabetical order. Now let's see what happens. So down here in my game view, I can see that I have this camera preview, and I can see my game view. So maybe I want to experiment with what happens if I change some of this. This is the distance. Now, I'm going to have to copy these components because there are a few things that stick when you're in play mode, but I'm never really sure which ones they are. So I'm going to copy this component. Let's see, is that one of them? Nope. Luckily, we copied the component. We're going to paste the component values, save. Let's hit play. There we go. So now we are following at this distance we've chosen. I don't know why we want this distance, but there we go. Well, so that's pretty good, but we can only stay behind him. There's actually a really nice camera script that camera function that is one of the in the sample assets that I would like to show you. And for that, what we're going to do is we are going to delete the main camera, and instead we're going to go into sample assets and into cameras this time, prefabs. It's called free look camera. So let's just put free look camera over here. And I had hidden it before because I was doing something else with it. Auto target player does not need a target because and we already know the third person character is tagged player. So let's see if that's all we needed to do to make that work. That'd be great. Okay, so we've got our follow, but now I am moving my mouse around and I can look around in my scene as well as following. High kick guy. Okay, so I hope that helps with choosing a character. You could make one with that character generator and choose whatever you want. You bring that character in. Just make sure that when you bring that character in, like let me just look at sort of anybody. Robot Kyle, for example. Here he is in his model. When you look at the rig, you just want to make sure it's changed to humanoid, and then all the stuff, that we have on here under animator, which is this mechanism, uses the mechanism system of animation and control. Will be something that you can use. And if you're interested in this, there's a PDF in here that you can open, and there are tutorials on the Unity website that you can follow that use some of the assets that you already have in here. You have the sample scenes that things like animator control and crowd simulation and follow example, generic skeleton. Those are all part of that mechanism system, and you can get other assets from the Unity website. And if you're interested in having that be one of the areas that you really choose to experiment with your project, then you could do that. Okay, so that concludes the character controller. We've looked at first person, and we have also looked at third person character controllers and perspectives. So we've looked at both the character and some animation stuff and the camera perspective. Good. One other thing that I didn't mention at the top, but I think we should look at is in level 2. Here's our first one, first pickup cube. Okay, so it helpfully says to us here, GUI text. And lo and behold, it is GUI text, and it's under a game object called display text. We have count text, and we have win text for when you win, right? So on this first person controller, I have a player controller script, which is a different kind of thing than the other controllers that we've been looking at. This one, and I'm gonna I also have a rigid body, which if you did not have one on your character or on an object, you go add component, physics, and then you would choose rigid body. Right. So what I have here is the player controller script. I open that, and you could open this script and make some choices here. So in the public, this public field, there's the GUI text, which is the count text, and also win text. And then if there's a collision with a game object with the tag pickup, then it'll destroy that object and it'll add +1 to the count. When the count, actually this is supposed to be 32. I remember I made a mistake with that. So when the count gets to 32, then the text says congratulations, or it could say you win or you die or whatever it is that you want it to say whenever that count of whatever it is reached. Right? So in the beginning, I did not want the win text to say anything. In the beginning, I wanted the count to say 0. Right? So that's how this script works. The object here has a box collider. It is the trigger, and you notice it is tagged pickup. So that wasn't something that was in just in Unity, but you can add a tag, anything you want. You can, I've got dangerous smelling fire here, but you could add something here, and then it would show up. Amazing. Okay, and so then when I go back to the inspector, tag it as amazing, but then the pickup thing wouldn't work anymore. So that's how that works. The other thing I wanted to tell you is then you make a GUI text object, but I think you'll be working maybe with this this game object, different ways of taking the elements of something that you want to keep and getting rid of everything else. Right? So I mean, I think that's what I would do. I think that I'll show you what I would do. I think I would let me save this as delete. Right, and so I think I would probably go like this, right? Right. And then you've taken away all those things. Count text. This is what I was starting to show you. You can put in a font, but you need to have a font that has been brought into your project. And the way you do that is you just look up on your computer, do a search for and find the font that you want, the TrueType font or whatever kind of font you have, and then just drag that font into your project window. You may want, if you have a lot of fonts, then you might want to make a folder called fonts, and then you could find that. I just had the one that I brought in, so I just dragged this SF movie poster font and dragged that in, and then you can do it. Then you can change the size, the color, the font style, all kinds of things like that. Anchor it. Where do you want to put it? Right? Move it around. Whoops, because it's a little object. So that's the deal with that. If you want to use this and you have any questions about it, you can ask me. You could even delete all the cubes as well, or just keep one, take away the quads, and put whatever you wanted in here, right? And then just delete that, and then put whatever you wanted in there, and it would have those properties, and maybe pick one that didn't have the audio if you don't want that thud thing, thud sound. And then I think you'll be all set. So I hope you enjoy working with this project. I hope you have some fun. Think about what would be fun for your player, and learn something about what it means to think from the perspective of a game designer and the kinds of elements that go into a game.